Since November of last year, the US has watched billions in naval contracts sail away to European rivals. Just 2 weeks ago, Norway signed a £10 billion deal for 5 British Type 26 frigates, a major win for Scottish shipyards and a clear loss for US exporters who were in the running. This isn't the first time, it's a pattern. From Greece to Sweden, Denmark, via France to Spain, nearly every major European navy is turning inward, choosing homegrown or European-made systems over US alternatives. The shift only accelerated after Donald Trump slapped tariffs on Europe and publicly threatened Denmark over Greenland. Now, the EU's $150 billion rearmament plan explicitly excludes US-based firms from bidding. Europe seems to have drawn a line. It's picking sovereignty and locking the US out, and for it, the US economy is hemorrhaging billions of dollars and losing jobs at a rate not seen since COVID. I'm Tuomas, a former officer in the Finnish Defense Forces, and in today's episode we continue our series on how Donald Trump's election is reshaping the global defense market away from US production. It's been nearly a year since the vote, and as promised, this installment dives into naval technology, who's buying what and why it matters. If you'd like us to tackle the aerospace sector next, let us know in the comments and we'll cover that in the coming weeks. Europe's naval rebuild isn't headlined like its land revival, but beneath the surface, literally and industrially, things are moving fast. From submarine halls in Kiel, Cherbourg and Malmö to frigate docks on the Clyde, in A Coruña and Genoa, European navies are buying European, and they're doing it in bulk. This isn't just about ships, it's about sovereignty, about cutting ITA dependencies, and about making sure Europe can project power without waiting for a vote in Washington. In this episode, we dive into the biggest naval procurements happening in Europe right now: submarines, frigates, vertical launch systems, naval helicopters, and more. And as always, we follow the money, the tonnage, and the stocks. And we try to establish what sort of effect the last year or so has had on the European defense market. Let's start underwater. Submarines are the silent spine of Europe's naval posture, and now the orders are finally catching up to the talk of many European leaders. The German-designed Type 212 is already in frontline service with Germany and Italy in both A and AIP variants, forming the backbone of NATO's undersea presence in Central Europe for over a decade. The newer Type 212 C and D is a generational leap. Germany and Norway are co-producing 6 boats through ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems, purpose-built for stealth in the Arctic and North Sea. Italy is doubling down with its own U212 class, 4 submarines built entirely at home by Fincantieri, with extended range and fully domestic combat systems. Poland just joined the club, picking Sweden's A-26 Blekinge class from Saab Kockums over US alternatives and adding to the order already placed by Sweden. The Netherlands has followed suit, selecting France's Naval Group and its SMX-based design for 4 new submarines worth over €5 billion. Spain recently launched the first of its S80 class, built in Cartagena, and are reviving a deep national submarine tradition. And France, already a global submarine heavyweight, is ramping up exports of its Scorpene class, especially across Asia and Latin America. Combined with the UK's movement on the AUKUS and Dreadnought submarines, these moves mark the biggest surge in European submarine procurement in decades. Across European NATO states, over 30 new submarines are either ordered or in the pipeline. The UK is committing to up to 12 AUKUS nuclear attack subs, alongside 4 Dreadnought-class ballistic missile subs. France is advancing both its Barracuda-class attack subs and the next-generation nuclear ballistic deterrent fleet. The Netherlands, Italy, Germany, Norway, Poland, and Sweden are all adding conventional or AIP-capable boats, while Greece plans to acquire 4 new submarines as part of its €25 billion defense overhaul. Spain continues serial production of its indigenous S80 class, with eyes on exports. Bottom line, Europe is past just sustaining its undersea fleets. It's expanding them, diversifying them, and in all cases, building them at home in Europe. On the markets, submarine makers are being rewarded. ThyssenKrupp's stock has rallied over 226% since the US election. Saab has surged over 110% in the past 12 months on the back of massive order intake and record-breaking earnings. Fincantieri has seen a staggering 200% gain year-to-date in 2025 as it returns to profitability and ramps up both submarine and surface vessel output. Naval Group, while not publicly traded, is posting its highest-ever order backlog, with export demand for the Scorpene class growing in Latin America and Asia. Navantia, also state-owned, recently celebrated the launch of Spain's first S80 submarine and reports a healthy submarine production schedule through 2030, underpinned by growing regional demand and increased industrial autonomy, as well as the acquisition of the Haaland and Wolf shipyards in Northern Ireland to further ramp up production. BAE, builder of the British submarines and many of its surface vessels, has seen a similar explosion in its stock value, with an over 40% rise since the US election. Surface vessels are surging too. The FREMM-class frigate is already the standard bearer for France and Italy. France operates multiple units, including the anti-air-focused Alsace and Lorraine, while Italy's Navy fields the anti-sub-oriented Bergamini variants. These ships have become the premium multi-role backbone for their respective fleets and are being exported worldwide, including to Greece, Egypt, Indonesia, the US, and Morocco. Spain's Navy is deep into construction of 5 F110 frigates at Navantia, designed to replace the aging Santa Maria class. These include Spanish radar, propulsion, and combat systems. Germany and the Netherlands are developing the F126 class, with 4 frigates being built by Damen and integrated with TKMS systems. The UK is building 8 Type 26 frigates in Glasgow, designed for anti-sub dominance, and 5 Type 31s as a general-purpose, lower-cost solution. Norway's decision to purchase 5 Type 26 represents a further regional consolidation under British naval design. Denmark and Sweden are now in talks to follow suit, and will likely see a combined frigate force in the North Sea of around 15 to 20 Type 26 frigates built in the UK, which will further increase the Nordic and British cooperation along the lines of the Joint Expeditionary Force. Generally, the builders of Europe's frigates were mentioned in the first section, so for stock and company performance, you can jump back to that part. Landing helicopter docks are among the most flexible and visible modern symbols of naval power projection. Operators include Spain with its Juan Carlos I, France with its Mistral class, and Italy's Cavour. Spain has exported its design to Australia, which built 2 Canberra class based on Juan Carlos I. France's Mistral class has been exported to Egypt, which now operates the Anwar El Sadat and Gamal Abdel Nasser. Italy's Cavour, meanwhile, has not been exported, but serves as a flagship platform for jump jets and multi-role amphibious operations in Italy's Navy. There is a growing shift in how these ships are used. The French Navy has fully integrated the camcopter UAV aboard the Mistral-class Dixmude, linking it directly into the ship's combat system. Spain is working to integrate the Sirtap drone into Juan Carlos I, developing systems to manage autonomous operations at sea. The broader trend is clear. Rather than housing just aircraft and landing units, future ships of this class will operate as mobile drone hubs, floating ISR and strike platforms that enhance fleet awareness and survivability in contested areas. In example, France could park one of their 3 landing helicopter docks outside a country and swarm it with thousands of drones, all the while using other assets to protect it. Think Ukraine's Russian bomber strikes on steroids. As we move into corvettes, the field opens up considerably. I could easily talk about Norway's Skjold class, Finland's new corvettes, Germany's K130, or Spain's Avante 2200, but with so many platforms in play, I'll focus on the biggest export successes and the designs showing the most future promise. Naval Group's Goin class is likely the most successful European modern corvette export, with contracts in Egypt, Malaysia, Argentina, and the United Arab Emirates. Modular, stealthy, and relatively affordable, it continues to win contracts in competitive markets. Interestingly, This French design has beaten US competition in its last two bids in Malaysia and the United Arab Emirates. Sweden is upgrading its already very capable Saab-made Visby-class corvettes with new air defense systems like MBDA's Sea Scepter to extend their frontline relevance. At the same time, it is developing the larger Luleå-class heavy corvettes, around 3,000 tons, which promise greater endurance, firepower, and NATO interoperability in the North Sea. While initially planned as a purely domestic project, Sweden is now exploring hybrid or partnered development options, including industrial cooperation between Saab and UK's Babcock. This shift could position the Luleå class as both a high-end national asset and a future export contender, as the UK seems to be on a bit of a roll when it comes to naval exports. As seen in our other episodes, when Britain and Sweden work together, they more often than not end up making top-notch military equipment. Lastly, in the Corvette section, before we move on to naval armaments, I'm going to have to talk about a project that I hope Europe is going to emulate across other variants. This is so new that I don't really have any footage to show, so I'll use footage from the navies of participating members. The European Patrol Corvette, developed under the PESCO framework, aims to unify design efforts across European navies. Led by Italy and joined by France, Spain, Greece, Croatia, Denmark, Norway, and Romania, the project will produce two variants: a full combat mission model and a long-range mission version for Arctic patrol. With funding from the European Defence Fund and state contributions, design work is being led by firms like Navantia, Fincantieri, Kongsberg, and Naval Group. The goal is simple: reduce costs, boost interoperability, and keep naval procurement firmly in European hands. Notably, no non-European company will be allowed to partake in this project, and it is likely a process which will be mirrored across other platforms. When it comes to the weapon systems on board these vessels, there's really not that many options. For vertical launch systems, France and Italy deploy the European-made Sylver vertical launch systems extensively on their FREMM and Horizon-class ships. These cells fire Aster 15 and 30 for area defense and are evolving to accommodate the future deep strike cruise missile. The Spanish Navy fields the American Mark 41 on its F-100 and new F-110 class, launching mainly American missiles. Poland's Miecznik frigates, based on the Babcock Arrowhead 140 design, will also use Mark 41. Germany's upcoming F-126 will deploy 32 vertical launch cells, likely also with the American design. Meanwhile, Denmark is shifting from US-made Harpoon to the Norwegian naval strike missile for its Iver Huitfeldt class. The trend is clear. Mark 41 remains in legacy and embedded systems, while Sylver continues expanding as the preferred sovereign launcher and is also increasingly being deployed to UK vessels, though in all honesty I do not understand why not more European navies opt for the European version. When it comes to naval guns, Italian OTO Melara is in a league of its own. Its 76mm systems, especially the Super Rapid and Stralis variants, are mounted on over 60 Navy's ships worldwide. From corvettes to frigates, it's become the go-to gun for nations that want flexibility, firepower, and future-proof integration. And while competitors like Bofor's 57mm offer high rates of fire, they often sacrifice range, lethality, or versatility. The US Navy itself adopted the auto-designed gun as the Mark 75, built under license. And that wasn't a one-off. The Mark 75 has been standard on US Coast Guard cutters and Perry-class frigates for decades. Even as naval procurement becomes more politically charged, OTO keeps winning, because its system is proven, modular, and easy to integrate with NATO and European combat systems. In practice, it's often uncontested. Where a medium-caliber gun is needed, most navies don't even shop around. They go straight to the Italians. When your gun is being built under license by your biggest supposed competitor, you've basically won the market. Since Trump's election win, Europe has quietly, but decisively, locked the US out of billions in naval contracts. From submarines and frigates to corvettes and naval gun systems, European navies are buying European. It's not just a policy shift, it's an industrial one. The result? European shipyards are booming, and so are their stock prices. Fincantieri is up over 200% this year. ThyssenKrupp over 220% since November, and Saab is riding record order backlogs to new highs. Meanwhile, US firms that once dominated these deals are being boxed out, economically and politically. I know I promised I'd cover naval helicopters in this episode, but I simply ran out of time this week. So I'll be bundling that with our upcoming aerospace-focused episode next week, where we'll look at jets, rotorcraft, logistics platforms, and missile systems, and as always, track where the money is going. If you haven't seen the other parts in this series yet, where we broke down Europe's land system surge and how US giants like Lockheed and General Dynamics are losing market share, you'll find the links in the description and in the pinned comment. Thanks for watching, have a great weekend, and stay safe out there.